Good evening, everyone. Welcome to PW Twister. My name is Brian. It's nice to have you all here. I am going to be using this channel for mostly pro wrestling related stuff. I'm a big fan. It's been one for 17 years now. And I figured I'd start off my channel. I've tried some before. I've done the channel like this before, but it didn't really work out all that well. So I'm going to start off this channel by how I would improve the organization I'm a fan of the most. TNA. Now, there are some glimpses WWE has, some amazing moments they have, but I've been a fan of TNA more since since they were on FSN and whatnot, and it's really sad how far they've fallen compared to where they once were. So I'm going to offer them some ways to improve on what they have. With my little whiteboard here, I know the writing is a little bit too small here. Let me try to fix the zoom and whatnot here. Okay, so what would I do to improve TNA? Well, first thing I would do, as you can see here, if I can figure that out, let most of the veterans go. I didn't see my own T there. The reason I would do this is because Sting, Brother Ray, Brother Devon, Rob Van Dam, Kurt Angle, they're guys that have been stars in the past but are not going to provide a lot of future success. You know, they're not going to be here 5 years from now. Sting might last another year in the company. Angle will probably retire after another year. And you need to focus on getting those guys out and bringing in younger people who are going to be there. Which brings me to number 2. Bring back 6 sides. TNA originally had a 6-sided ring. Well, not originally, but they had one, and it's what made them different. Like the Octagon made the UFC different. The 6-sided ring made TNA different, especially for a pro wrestling promotion. It was very revolutionary. They could do a lot more in it than in a 4-sided ring, and they took it away because Hulk Hogan didn't like it. I'll get to him later. Number 3, focus on building stars. Something WWE is rushing and painting by numbers, trying to do. But painting by numbers meaning they're just trying to build every star the same. It's not really working very well, I think. There's some hopeful people in there, but they're not really doing it all that well, and they're doing it way, way too slowly. TNA needs to focus on bringing in the younger people and using the people who still have 10 years of a career left, like an AJ Styles, or people like that. And they need to build on these guys, and that's why it's vital for them to do number 1, let the veterans go, because they're not going to be there. The younger guys are going to be there, and I know people have harped on this for a while, so I'm going to move on to number 4. Revolutionize pay-per-view and TNA shop. Now, if you look at both TNA and WWE, they both have between 10 and 13 pay-per-views a year. WWE does 13, I think. TNA does about 11 or 12. If I were TNA, I would bring down the number of pay-per-views to 5 or 4, I would think. 4 or 5. Probably 5 would be better because of the spacing you have. And what I mean by revolutionize is, 1, actually make all of your pay-per-views of such high quality that people will be willing to shell out the money. And when I go say TNA shop, what I'm thinking is, because you see a lot of smaller promotions like Ring of Honor and Dragon Gate doing this, and even the UFC to an extent. What I would do is, if I was TNA with their pay-per-views, I would say, here, you can watch on your TV our pay-per-view for $35, $40, we'll say. I think it's $40 for a TNA pay-per-view. And you could watch it normal, high-definition stuff on TV, or you could come to TNAWrestling.com, order our pay-per-view via live high-definition stream, and if you order our pay-per-view via high-definition stream on our website, you will get a discount on all TNA merchandise in TNA shop, one time only, for one purchase only, feasible during any time of the year, that you can use in one purchase. If it's a big purchase, you get X% off, whatever, but they can use it anytime during the year, and It's a reward for coming to our website and ordering our pay-per-view. You know, you need to. That's why I'm saying revolutionize it. Things have to change, and this is a good model of change. I think that they should be willing to try it out, because even the UFC doesn't offer their merchandise at discount for ordering their pay-per-view on their website. And I'll get to the UFC, and there's a reason I'm mentioning them. I'll get to them later. Number 5, go on the road. This is obvious. UFC does it. WWE does it, and TNA doesn't do it nearly as much. They need to do it. I know it costs a lot, but it's something that just has to be done for them to grow. They can't stay in Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, and expect to be successful. Number 6, clear out the TNA management and creative, I should say. That's why I called it TNA office, because it didn't feel like writing all that much on the board there. Reason for this is because Vince Russo, Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, Dixie Carter, they all fail. Dixie Carter should just resign. Bob Carter, the funder of TNA at this point, should just put like a Jim Cornette in as the manager, and Jim Cornette would probably bring in a Dutch Mantel, a guy they both had history. That's who I would bring in if I was assigning new management to TNA. Dutch Mantel and Jim Cornette. They have history, and it's a successful history. They got on TV while those two were in power, so they know what to do. Number 7, utilize social media. Now, when it comes to social media, the UFC, like I said I was going to mention before, the UFC gives their preliminary cards on, some of them now at least, on Facebook via live stream. It's basically people who are mostly on Facebook now saying, here, go to our Facebook, here's a live stream, if you like what you see, order our stuff. And it's a revolutionary idea that I think TNA shouldn't be afraid to do. Offer your fans, like, the end of a feud. Like, if you have a feud going on TV that you've been building for a while that doesn't have room on the pay-per-view card, offer 1 or 2 matches to conclude a feud. Offer a I cannot talk today. Offer a feud conclusion for free, and another match, like put on an X Division match or something. Give something to entice the people to come in and buy your pay-per-view. Utilizing your YouTube more, say when you're opening the show. If I was running TNA, I would have the announcers open the show by announcing all the matches on the card for that week, and then saying, make sure also after the show's over you go to our YouTube, our Facebook, TNA's official Twitter, which they don't have, but I would do. And look out for the latest stuff on TNA. Go to TNA Shop. Things like that. Utilize the next generation of social media, which they do to an extent, but not as good as they could. I'd put like a Jeremy Borash in charge of that, because he seems to be he seems to know what he's doing on that front. Put him more give him more ability to do that, because the more you do it, the more business you're going to attract to yourself. And then number 8. Health policy. WWE does this to an extent, but I would revolutionize TNA's health policy just a little bit. You know, some guys get caught for drugs or steroids or whatever, and some just turn a blind eye. Some just silently say nothing while these guys disappear from TV. I would do the opposite approach. If somebody was showed up, like, use Jeff Hardy for an example. As most of you or all of you know, Jeff Hardy recently at a TNA pay-per-view showed up what is believed to be intoxicated. Nobody will say anything, but it's pretty obvious that's the case as to why he was that way. And, well, let me zoom out the camera here a little bit so you're not staring into my whiteboard. Basically, what I would have done, instead of just silently saying, well, we're not sure what we're going to do yet, I would put his name on the website for whatever reason he showed up in that condition, go on the next week and say, hey, this is, after the announcers have gone over everything for the week, say, hey, for those of you who ordered the pay-per-view and for those of you who have paid attention to what's going on, Jeff Hardy did not show up in proper condition for the match. He got finished very quickly. We have discovered that he was under the influence of X. Put his name out there as he did this. You know, say that your wrestlers were, take responsibility for your wrestlers. Say that they were on steroids, or that they were on drugs, or that they showed up intoxicated, and say we're offering him help. Hopefully he will be, be back eventually once he clears the drug, whatever, or something like that. And if they have personal problems, make note of what it is, because people wonder always why the wrestlers just don't show up. And you have to. I would say outright, what happens to these guys when they just disappear from TV? You say, if you have nothing for a guy, just say, well, he's taking a break right now from the company. He'll be back soon enough. Or this guy's having issues that is requiring him to not be here. You know, the UFC is the next generation. It is what you need to model yourself after, because they're the ones who made $500 million on pay-per-view revenues alone. WWE can't do that. They can't even come close to that. So I would use the UFC as the benchmark for success in the 21st century of combat and action sports. Model yourself off of those guys. Whatever they do and whatever succeeds for them, you do as well, because it's going to work just as well for you more than likely, and put your own twist on it. But you need to bring the wrestling business into the 21st century, which WWE is trying to do, but they're not doing it very well. They have their moments, but most of the time they don't. And so, number 9, the thing that nobody really seems to be good at anymore, more wrestling and more build-up. This is why I would bring the pay-per-views in TNA down to 5 or 4. You have more time for people to care. WWE, for example, they have a month between their pay-per-views, and there's not nearly enough time to make people care. Although they have 2 TV shows, so I suppose they can do it a bit easier than a TNA can, but regardless, make sure you let people know, hey, our pay-per-view's coming up, hey, our pay-per-view's coming up, hey, our pay-per-view's coming up. Because it's rarer, like, oh my gosh, a TNA pay-per-view, it's been a couple months since we've seen one of these, let's order it. And like, oh yeah, that's right, we get specials when we order the pay-per-view online, sweet. Basically, what I'm suggesting is for TNA to lead the way into the 21st century. It's a shame that organizations like Dragon Gate USA or Ring of Honor are not on a major TV station where they can get access, because they're doing what I'm suggesting on a lot of things, and they just don't have the TV show on cable TV every week for people to watch. Just put Ring of Honor on Spike TV, put Dragon Gate on Spike TV, and see what happens. I guarantee you, in a year, they'll be where TNA is, because they're putting on a revolutionary product, or at least what seems revolutionary, but it was basically being done a few years ago with whatever resources were available. So, I hope I didn't sound like a raving lunatic here. Hope that you liked my ideas, and until next time, have a nice day.